a great topic today. We're going to be talking about depression, healing from depression, and this is an interesting one. I haven't dealt with this personally, so it can be difficult sometimes when you don't deal with it to know how to talk to other people who do deal with it. And Sheila Walsh has helped me tremendously, but I have another expert here today to help all of us to understand it, whether it's for yourself, for a loved one, for those you minister to. So I have Dr. Gregory Jantz with us, and you may have seen him. He's been on Dr. Phil, on CNN, on Fox, ABC, NBC. He's written numerous books on the topic. He founded a place, let's see, I can show it to you here. It's called A Place of Hope, and he helps people. And so he is going to, it's called The Center, A Place of Hope. And he is here today on Skype. So welcome all you guys that are watching, wherever you're at, Facebook, YouTube, Periscope, Twitch, or watching the replay. If you're watching live, we will take some questions. We appreciate your comments, so join in the discussion. So Dr. Jantz, good to have you here.
Oh, so good to be with you, Randy. And this is an important and timely topic, and it's one that's, it's dear to me and I'm passionate about.
I do want to mention that you have a new book called Healing Depression for Life, and I'm showing people your website here so they can go there too. It's drgregoryjantz.com, and this is the new book. That is available, so if this is a topic that hits you, please go out and get the book. But let's just kind of start from the top. What do we need to know, basics about depression?
Depression can encompass so much, Randy. There's the depression that's like the common cold. We catch it and we go, okay. And a few weeks pass and go, oh, I feel normal again. Mm-hmm. And then there's the depression that we're seeing more and more of. In fact, the World Health Organization tells us that depression, they call it a disability, is the #1 disability in the world. Now, that's a weird thought. That's above heart disease, cancer, depression. And I think we live in an age where we are seeing more of this. So we've been treating depression here from a whole person point of view. This actually is 36 years. It seems strange to say that. But I am probably more passionate today about talking about depression and anxiety and getting people the help that they need and so desperately are seeking. So depression it's probably something that can be very frustrating. If you live with somebody that's depressed, you go, well, I've tried to do everything I can to help them and nothing's changing. And so depression's a confusing topic. And I'll go through some symptoms if that would be helpful for those who are suffering from it. It'll be a common knowledge. But when you're depressed, in fact, I had a guy who shared with me in my office. He said, you know what, Dr. Jantz, it takes energy just to breathe. Now and you get apathy. You feel like, man, I don't have the energy to do anything. And you've tried about everything to get over this, and it just won't go away. And you look at it and you go, wow, my sleep is disruptive. Maybe you have trouble falling asleep. You never feel rested. Maybe you find yourself just isolating. Man, I don't want to be with anybody. You may find as well, Randy, that you're at a place of just despair. It's like, I don't know what's going on with me, but I don't feel like I don't feel like living. And those are some flashing red signs that say, I need help. So there's a whole, and we'll talk about how to get more information on this, but there's a lot of symptoms of this serious depression that sometimes people have suffered way too long and they don't know what to do about this. So I'm glad we're talking about it today.
It's definitely a good topic. Can we talk about maybe some of the causes? Because I think some of the confusion comes from knowing, okay, is this diet related? Is there a chemical imbalance? Is it spiritual? Is it just emotional? How do you know what is, something that's biological or from an external force or from past trauma? Because it can be hard, I think, sometimes to pinpoint because of the different things that can contribute to it.
It can be very difficult to understand what's going on. And sometimes people will say, I feel like it's just all in my head. What's wrong with me? So you've hinted onto some very important pieces. Well, it can be chemical imbalance. One of the things that we do is we look at individuals' body chemistry. Is there a deficiency? We know, for example, the nutrient deficiency of vitamin D, for example, can cause some depression. So there's a physiological reason at times. We know that there can be early childhood trauma, Randy, where a person's maybe severely abused or had some significant loss early on in their life. We know early traumas that are particularly repeated tend to alter brain chemistries and set us up for a physiological depression. So when you feel like, wow, what's wrong with me? There's always a reason. Sometimes it's multiple reasons. Here's how we do it. We say, well, everybody's a 1,000-piece puzzle. We all have different pieces to our life. And maybe there's a spiritual piece. Maybe there's a physical piece. And part of what we do here at A Place of Hope is we're all about finding your unique pieces to the puzzle and what's unique to you that's creating this depression. I have to tell you with great confidence, for those suffering from depression, there are answers, and we do need to know where to look. And I believe there's hope. And I say that because of the work we've been doing for 36 years. I see lives change that have felt hopeless. So, I'm speaking today from a position of hope because I've seen those lives change.
That's great. We're talking to Dr. Gregory Jantz, author of the book, Healing Depression for Life. It's available right now. Talking about a topic that impacts a lot of people. And,
Yes.
Dr. Jantz, you hinted on the hope that you offer people, but sort of back up a little bit. If someone says, you know what, I think or I know that I'm suffering from depression, what's sort of the first thing that you tell them that they need to do?
Well, if you're suffering from depression, maybe you've already gone in, you've saw your family physician, and your doctor may have said, well, it does look like you have some depression symptoms, and maybe you were given a prescription for a common antidepressant, and perhaps you've been taking that for a while, and you go, well, I felt better at first, but now it's like, wow, I'm not feeling that great anymore. Something's missing. Maybe you have secretly turned to food to kind of make you feel better, or maybe it's alcohol and you're becoming secret because something's not working and you want to feel differently. That's one of the things that we tend to do as human beings. It's not working, and then I start to do things that are not that helpful, and I get real secret about it. And then I create another layer of issues. If I'm sneaking alcohol to change how I feel, I'm going to create a whole nother set of problems. So, but that's kind of the natural thing that people tend to do. Maybe they're secretly eating, binge eating.
Yeah.
I had somebody recently who said, I couldn't wait every night to get home, sit on the sofa, turn on the television, and eat that quart. And this person said, I sometimes we eat a whole half gallon of ice cream every night.
Yeah.
Well, depressed people like sweet and smooth foods. So, there's always an explanation for our behaviors. The first thing I want to say is, okay, what are you doing that's not working that maybe you're embarrassed about it? Depression can create shame, and shame means I want to hide. Shame means I feel defective. Shame means I don't want to talk about it. And that's what depression creates.
You touched on the drugs, and I know this is a very controversial area.
Sure.
What's your take on the antidepressants that are so quickly prescribed these days?
Well, I think we live in a world and a culture that we're instant. We want relief instantly. We want to purchase everything with 2 or 3 clicks. We live in a 1-2-click society. That's what we want. We want relief. We want it now. Give me that pill. And I want it taken care of. So I can understand that. Here, and we're not, and we have a team here, and we have doctors, and we do prescribe. But what we do is we're very careful. We never want a person to think one pill is going to solve everything. Let's get to the root issues. Let's pray. Let's come together. Let's seek wisdom. And then what are the missing pieces to the puzzle?
Okay, so you brought up another topic, and that's prayer, which,
Yes.
people who aren't Christians, they're going to think, okay, that's just crazy.
Yeah.
You can't pray your depression away, but yet that is something that you focus on. I've talked to others who've said, you can't just deal with one single thing. You have to deal. You mentioned a holistic
Yes.
approach, dealing with the mind, the body, and the spirit or the soul. What is the balance there in your view and your experience?
Yeah, and I think the key word you just used is balance. Well, I really believe in the power of prayer. I think sometimes we may pray, "Oh Lord, relieve me of this. Take this away, this horrible thorn from me." And I get that prayer. At times, we might want to pray, "Lord, give me wisdom to know what do I need to know here? What do I need to do?" But I think a prayer for wisdom. When we come together as a team, we do pray for our clients or our patients. We're praying, Lord, show us those missing pieces of the puzzle. What do we need to know to really help here? One of the things that depression will do as you recover, you become so compassionate towards others who are suffering.
Mm-hmm.
You become so aware, and you develop another sensitivity and a compassion to those who have suffered. And I think one of the things we want to do is as we recover, we want to share that hope with others and be of service to others. Now, I know that recovery can take a period of time. If you're depressed, we live in an instant culture. We may not want to take the 30 days, the 60 days, the 3 months to do what we need to do to recover. And if I may share, I know what it's like personally. It's been a long time, but I walked through it. And I think for me, just to even get back physically and really get in my full swing, I think it was probably a year for me to say, man, I feel great, and getting my health back, because I had allowed things. It's subtle and it's sneaky, but I allow things to just get worse and worse. And you know what? I'm a counselor, so I want to practice what I'm preaching, and this is why we were voted in the top 10 of places in the country to get help for depression. And one of the reasons for that is I'm particularly sensitive to those who are suffering, but I believe you have to deal with the whole person, Randy.
Yeah.
And there are spiritual answers as well. One of those is, am I carrying around a lot of unforgiveness? Am I full of resentments? Am I carrying things that I don't need to be carrying that are making me toxic and creating poison in my life?
Yeah, in your book, Healing Depression for Life,
Yeah.
you mentioned the toxic triplets, I believe is what you call them.
Yes.
What are those, and explain how those actually are very important factors when it comes to depression.
Okay, there's 3 deadly emotions, if you will, that we have to all deal with if we're going to be healthy. I'll put number 1, anger. And maybe another word for anger could be hurt. I've been hurt. I've been traumatized. And that hurt, I'm angry. And my anger is justified, right? And we can understand anger. But when anger turns on us because we haven't dealt with the hurt, it develops into bitterness, resentment, and it poisons us. So we're going to look at, okay, I have to learn how to deal with anger in my life, or old anger or hurt, in order to be healthy. That's number 1. Number 2, fear. Now, fear comes in a lot of different forms. Worry could be a form of fear. If I learned how to be so worrisome and I'm worried all the time, I could develop anxiety and anxiousness. And I wake up during the night and my heart's pounding and I'm feeling anxious. So that could be something that could be happening. Mm-hmm. We also know that last one I'll mention is guilt. Guilt could be shame. Maybe I feel like I'm defective. There's something terribly wrong with me, and I deserve this depression. So this is something that we need to look at: anger, fear, and guilt. Now, I made that really simple, but those are the 3 potentially deadly emotions.
Yeah. One of our live viewers mentions that a friend has depression, and is on medication, but has shut her out. And I know this is probably fairly common for people that are in deep depression where they close off other people. If we have someone who's close to us that we care about, who is just descending into that darkness, how do you break through to them? You've been on both sides of this. So what's the approach for someone that wants to help someone that they know is really battling some depression?
One of the things is to really deal with it, I think, straightforwardly and honestly, and just let a person know, I really, really care about you, and I'm concerned. And is there anything that I can do to be of help? So, and the person may say, no, I don't know what you can do. I feel terrible. And then you may want to ask them, well, can I help you to locate the kind of help that, and can I be a part of that plan for you? Yeah. And so coming alongside, helping a person get the kind of help and resource, maybe it begins with a book like mine, or it gets with a counselor, or there needs to be a starting point. Mm-hmm. And so if we try to fix the person and go, well, I'll pray for you. And I had a person who said, I've been praying for you, and you must have some hidden sin in your life. That's why you're being depressed. That's why you're depressed. Those kinds of things are not helpful. It can be pretty, but that people sometimes will say things, maybe with good intent, but it can be really hurtful.
Well, yeah. I mean, you mentioned that guilt is one of the toxic triplets that contributes to it. And sometimes unintentionally, I think Christians can pile a little more guilt on people that are suffering from it. One thing we haven't talked about that I know I feel physically different. I don't suffer from depression, but I drag more. I may sleep more when I don't get exercise.
Oh, I'm so glad you mentioned that.
How critical is that?
Well, one of the things when we're depressed, we tend not to, I call it movement. We tend to not move a lot. Mm-hmm. We also tend not to drink water. Do you know depressed people, by and large, just maybe they'll drink other things, 20 cups of coffee a day, or or soft drinks.
Guilty.
But they tend not to drink water. And so one of the things that we do is we work on some detoxification. You're going to be drinking some water, and get you up to a liter of water a day, maybe more. And we're going to start movement. It may be a 20-minute walk. It may be a 10-minute walk, but we're going to get on a pattern of movement. Now, we do know that exercise over time, now it's not a real super quick result, but you do it for a course of, a month or 2 months, you're going to notice that, oh, wow, because it's going to start to change. You're going to have these endorphins that appear that are released. You're going to start to go, wow, something's changing. I'm feeling a little better. And so exercise will give a physiological boost. Yeah. It's very important. Now, everything else we do with you, if you're exercising, drinking your water, everything else we do for you is going to work even better.
Gotcha. Yeah. I know a good sweat rids your body of toxins. And so I can imagine that if you're having some physiological things going on in your body, just the act of getting some movement going, and it doesn't even have to be heavy. It's just, my doctor told me, just get your heart rate up. Just 20 minutes a day, get your heart rate up, and that will do wonders, and it has. I'm curious, you touched on the fact that this depression is something that you struggled with many years ago.
Yeah.
Are you willing to talk about some of the causes of that and some of the things you learned coming through that? Because I think it'll help anybody that may be struggling with it right now that's watching, if they can relate to you on a very personal level.
Yeah, and in the book Healing Depression for Life, of course I have one right here.
Nice, of course.
Healing Depression for Life, I share my story. And abbreviated version, I stopped taking care of myself. I really I guess you could use the term workaholic. I loved the work I was doing, but I didn't know when to stop. And, we can do a lot of good things, but without restorative rest, without taking care of ourselves physically, I stopped doing all the good things. And I would get home, 10 o'clock at night, and I'd sit there on the sofa and I'd be eating too, you know. And I started to do things that weren't healthy, and you know, I looked terrible. I gained weight. I didn't have any energy. My sleep was terrible. And it all started, I was doing good things, but I wasn't practicing what I was preaching.
Mhm.
And I felt such despair that I go, well, God, I obviously chose the wrong career. And man, I was looking, because sometimes when you're depressed, you want to run. I go, I'm going to move away from here and you know, I'm going to find something totally different to do. But I didn't have the energy to do anything. And this is why I say it's subtle, it's sneaky, it can creep upon you. And before you know it, a mild case of depression gets more severe and you're not doing anything healthy. I cut myself off. I stopped being with people that were good to be with. I did not, I stopped prayer. Wasn't attending church. I just cut myself off. And that isolation is one of the things that can be very detrimental.
Mhm.
And then our thinking gets off. You start to think, I don't really, it doesn't matter. And you start to think you have one foot in reality and one foot not.
Mm.
And so I know now that for me, that was in 1989. And so I learned a lot. And I go, I am going to do all I can to help others. And this is why I am passionate and I have a special compassion for those who are suffering. And I know what it's like. Maybe you feel like you've done everything you know to do, and things aren't changing,
Mhm.
and you feel like there's not hope, And this is what puts us into that suicide thinking. This is like, well, it'd be better off I wasn't even around, and you start to think these things that that are kind of scary to think about.
Yeah. Yeah. You mentioned helping others, devoting your life to helping others. I want to show people a quick clip real quick about how they can help others. And when we come right back, I want to ask you why you think that depression is so common in younger
Good.
people these days, because we're hearing about that a lot. We'll be right back right after this.
You can save lives when you become a part of Water for Life. Just go to lifetoday.org/live and know that every gift makes a difference. Be sure to request Randy's book, Rise Above, with any gift toward Water for Life.
All right, there you are. I cut to you instead of me. Dr. Gregory Jantz, author of the book Healing Depression for Life, talking about the epidemic, really, I don't know if it's technically true, but it seems like it, of depression that is way too common, startlingly common amongst young people, teenagers and kids in their early, I call them kids in their early 20s. Help me understand what's going on there. Do you have any insight into that?
Yes, we live in a culture of, I would say, entitlement. We have social media, and we know that the more you're involved with social media, if you're already depressed, you'll have more more symptoms of depression. Our youth, particularly, we're concerned about ages 12 to 17. We know that's suicide is the second leading cause of death for that age group.
Wow.
Now that's hard to even say. So the suicide rates are going up and up in our youth, and I think that many may not see the hope for a future. Well, we have addiction starting at younger ages. We have the average age to exposure to pornography on the internet probably around age 9 is what we're hearing. And so we've got this engagement with pornography at a very early age. We have addiction. We have marijuana that's being legalized in so many states.
Crazy. I'm a big snow skier, and in fact, just got back from Colorado. And
yes,
the libertarian part of me says, states' rights, go do what you want, everybody votes, whatever. But after seeing this for a few years, the recreational drug use is a big thing. And I'm telling you, it may not be as bad as whatever, but it makes you slow. It makes you lethargic. It makes you not care. I mean,
Yeah.
rudely say it makes you stupid, because I've had to deal with some people that you could tell were stoners. But the drug use in today's youth it's not going to reap anything but bad consequences. But that's my little soapbox on that one.
Well, thank you, and well said, Randy. It's absolutely true. And so we find, well, with this increase in addiction, and it's going to result in more depression. So that is one big issue, addiction of any form. And we do see that many times our youth are really becoming addicted at young ages.
Yeah, I can see it. Dr. Gregory Jantz, author of the book Healing Depression for Life. If this is something that interests you, whether it's something that you're personally dealing with or a loved one that you're dealing with, I would encourage you to find his book. It's out there anywhere you get books, on his website as well. And don't just let it slide. It won't go away on its own. Any last words of encouragement or instruction for anyone who's dealing with this?
Yes, and I've got a good amount of free, helpful information on the website, aplaceofhope.com. And there's a depression list of symptoms and more that you can get. But make today your decision point. Make today the day that you make a decision. I'm going to do something different. And I do want to let you know, and I see it in the lives of those we work with, there is hope. This is not the day to give up. It's the day to make a decision. I'm going to get new information.
That's a great thing. And I've got one interesting question, I think, from a viewer. Do pets play a positive role sometimes? We see these therapy animals, everywhere, and it's kind of a joke at sometimes. But is there some validity to that?
Oh, there is a role for pets. I think it's just maybe one piece of the puzzle.
Yeah.
But there's times where we've used pet therapy, and there's something to be said about caring for something else.
Yeah.
And so it can be helpful, but there's a person that's so depressed that goes, I don't care about the dog. I don't care.
Yeah.
And you don't have the energy to care.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
I think it can go both ways.
Okay, so not just one answer to this, but a lot of pieces to the puzzle. Maybe that's
right.
What you need to hear today, if that's what you're struggling with. One of those pieces to the puzzle could be getting help at Dr. Jantz's center, the Place of Hope, or going and getting the book as a starting point, Healing Depression for Life. Whatever it is, talking to a friend, going to church, just don't let it slide. Get yourself some help. And Dr. Jantz, thank you for caring. Thank you for your time today and for just talking to our audience and pointing us in the right direction and give us some basic facts to overcome this depression.
You're welcome. So good to be with you today.
Great. That's it for the rest of us, Life Today Live. Thank you, Tammy, Judy, everybody else, Claudia, Loretta, everyone else that's been out there live. If you're not watching us live, you can join us at noon Central Time weekday on all these locations and chat with us. Otherwise, we appreciate you watching the replay, sharing it. Be sure to subscribe and follow wherever you're at so you can see more of Life Today Live. I'm Randy Robinson, and I will see you here on Monday.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Jantz.